time there was a whole
Careful what
band,
you say.
jamming, like drum, bass, keyboards.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's really cool.
Okay, let's go.
I-O. Hey.
Hi, everyone.
Hey, everyone.
Ah,
Hey,
Hello.
guys.
hello.
Hello.
Hey, Robin.
How you doing?
Good. Yeah, I heard somebody playing that diminished lick.
Yeah, I've been working on it.
Dee da da dee da da, like that.
Yep.
Play it again.
You're all this stuff now.
Thomas, go ahead.
No.
Sorry, man, can't hear you.
Okay, I will have some more volume here then. Okay. Now I get nervous.
Of course.
All right.
No. Very slow.
It's close.
It's yeah, a little bit not totally correct.
No, but close. But something that occurred to me while I was, we kind of tune in just a little bit before we open up here. And it's always nice to see you guys hanging together. We dig that. Anything that you can play, any of these diminished licks that you learn, you can play them up or down in minor thirds. Just a nice little reminder, And it helps you to open up your view, of the fretboard, right? Not quite sure how that diminished lick finishes. I know that it's this. Is it that?
No, it's more like.
Okay, right. Something like that?
Close.
That's very good.
Because
There it is.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you notice in that lick, the first thing you play, from G to the flatted ninth, and then up the octave to G,
Yeah.
half steps down to the seventh, right?
Yeah.
Da dee da da, minor third. Then the raised ninth above.
Raise 9.
Yeah. Dee da da, dee da da da.
It was also very interesting when you
Hang on.
down to the triads.
Wait. So if you notice, when you play the right, you're playing a D flat triad, right? G, B flat, D flat, E, all those triads, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or up or down in minor thirds. So right? So I was just playing the minor, that same riff up in minor thirds. It's kind of a trip because, you know, you're having to make these big minor third leaps, you know. But all this in the spirit of just understanding what it is we're doing here, you know. It's this diminished chord, and it has, you know, and these major triads can move in minor thirds and can be used, you know, as a like passing. Thomas, mute your microphone there, would you?
Yeah, sorry.
It's okay. And so, you know, you can just play those things like, you know, because we're in the key of G, you've lost my hand there, babe. Right? We're in the key of G. Shit. Ah. And there's a way of taking that one riff, using not the whole thing, but just part of it, moving that part up in minor thirds, boom, resolving to the C. Or the first part of it, you know, say, to C, right there. One, two, three. Let's see, 1, 2. Right? Because that scale, you know, and it is an altered 5 chord, and it goes from G to C. Right? Does anybody get that? Anybody kind of understand that? You do, Louise.
It's quite difficult.
Well, I'm afraid we're hearing background noise in there somewhere, folks. Make sure your mics are muted. Yeah, I mean, physically on the guitar, it might be a little bit difficult, but the timing, you know, whoops. I'm trying to find a way to make that whole thing work. Right? So it's 2, 3, 4. Right? So it's the last 4 beats. So, you know, it's the last bar before you go to the C. So it'd be the 4th bar of a blues. And it's da 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 da, right? So you're playing. Right, that's the tempo. Shit. So that's where it's placed. So it's a random riff, but it also is a riff that resolves. Let's see that riff. Yeah, in the lesson, I must have done that. I must have resolved it, right? It goes from G to C, and it's the last bar. It's the 4th bar of a blues. I'm wondering, you know, like the rhythm of the whole thing, you know, the da 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 da. Does that make sense? I mean, it's right. Instead of da 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 da. Yeah. So yeah, that's just putting two fields, you know, opposite each other. But anyway,
I have a question there. Is it the tempo? Is it like playing? How do you say in Swedish? We say triol.
Triplet.
Triplets. Yeah. Is it kind of a triplet rhythm, or is it 8s?
Well, the blues is a triplet rhythm, and the riff is an 8s. Yeah, the riff is just
Okay.
straight eights. 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a, yeah. Is that 16ths? Yeah, that's 16ths.
At 16th. Yeah.
1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a. And that's part of the reason why the riff, you know, there's nothing trick about it. It's just up and down and up, and, you know, it's just like that. It's one bar, you know, it's just one bar. So, and they're tabbed out, right? They are tabbed out. Yeah. So, enough of that diminished stuff. You guys started it.
Where is that lesson?
What?
Where is that lesson found?
Thomas, do you know which number it is? Do you know which number that riff is?
That riff is number 5. Riff number 5.
Riff number five?
In which part? In the
Riffs.
In the riffs section.
Yeah.
riff section. Okay, great.
And it might be pretty clear, but you know, the way I more than not interject, you know, any kind of jazz phrasing into my blues playing, it's straight eights, you know, or 16ths actually in this case. And there's something very, you know, like jazz is sort of like that. You know, that's kind of the way it's played. And a lot of it. It was like when I was growing up, you know, the adults that I was hanging around, you know, in Los Angeles, and I was learning from them, you know, they always referred to it as straight eights. So that's how I think of it. And it's a way to interject, yeah, that kind of it's very literal, you know. It's a very literal, like that is a very literal riff. I mean, I made it up for the dojo, you know, it wasn't something that I'd been playing before, but I just took that very first few notes are a pattern that da da dee da, that's the original pattern, is just you know, that's the pattern. And I believe it comes from it's in the Slanimsky thesaurus that we were discussing, as Coltrane seemed to be the guy who made that famous. But I'm sure it appeared in Rimsky-Korsakov's music, you know what I mean? Certainly, you know, things like that. Classical music, you know, you would hear it. So I took da da dee and then da 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 dee da da, and that's another, right? You just move it in minor thirds, right? That's another pattern. So I just kind of put them together and just kind of literally composed a phrase, you know? Like I don't think I've ever played that on a gig. I don't think I ever have. I've played parts of it, you know, at different times. But like, it's just something I never did was, you know, make up riffs. I did it a little bit, but not very much. And boy, it's good to have them. You know, I'm certainly not bagging on riffs, man, because everybody did it. So, but I just always feel like I'm playing a riff, you know. That's just eventually where it became like, okay, I'm playing my riff. There it is. Thank you. Good night. You know, so I just tried to work towards an open, like, okay, you know, let's see, you know, what's going to happen next, and not play anything too complicated. And if I do, it's just kind of done, you know, and then I'm open again. So I just like that, you know. And in order to, you know, pursue that approach, all you have to do is know the chord you're playing and know the scale you're playing and go for it. You know, that's been my approach, you know, basically. So anybody have questions about blues or anything? Jesse Jacobs, how about you, man? You got anything in mind?
No, not really. I've been kind of going over a lot of the diminished stuff.
Yeah.
Um, and I've been actually taking your advice and playing a lot of chords and not being afraid to actually get into a groove, find something and like stay in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty magical.
Yeah. I mean,
That's the biggest thing. It's overcoming the fear, you know, and thinking I had to be perfect. Everything had
yeah.
to be. I had to know the chord. Like with
Mhm.
what I know, I go with. So
Yeah.
I've been having, and it's really enjoyable. I can't, you know what I mean? I can't put it down.
That's marvelous. I mean, and that's the reason we play, right? That's the real reason, you know, it's like there's all this stuff we'd like to be able to do, but you know, I gave up competing a long time ago. I think in my 30s, I gave up trying to beat that guy, you know. I never really felt too much that way, but I certainly wanted to be able to hang. But, you know, any kind of competition, I finally just fell away in my 30s. And it's just like, hey, I'm myself, I'm doing my thing, you know, whatever, you know. And that was such a healthy, you know, just way to just enjoy music, you know. I also remember having a realization it was a party. Some friends, I was living in LA, and some, you know, really good musicians called me up and they said, you know, you want to play this party? It's a Hollywood party, you know? And we were like out on a balcony, like at the Sunset Marquee or something. It was like maybe a kind of a swanky hotel with a pretty good balcony, like out over, you know, like in a half circle outside, and everybody was in there and we were out here playing. And I just remember I was having so much fun, you know. It's just like, this is why you do it, you know. It's just having a blast, you know. That was really it. And it stuck with me, you know. That really stuck with me. It's like, and you know, I've told the story here at the dojo. Otis Redding, before he played at Monterey Pop, and he was literally backstage smoking a reefer. And I know this is a true story. I got it from a straight source. And he was smoking a reefer, and his manager ran up to him and said, you know, Otis, man, this is Monterey Pop. You know, like Simon and Garfunkel are closing this thing. You know, we just heard, you know, whomever, Hendrix or whatever, you know. And he just went, oh man, ain't nothing but a barn dance. And that's how you walk out there and just have a blast, and everybody goes, yeah. And that's it, you know. So anyway, I've tried to kind of live by that, you know. Ain't nothing but a barn dance.
I love it.
No
Well,
matter
you
where you
gave
are.
us-
What?
Robin, at your first dojo camp
Mhm.
that I went to, you gave us some advice in one of your classes, and it was 3 words. And and in that regard, it's always stuck with me. And, you know, pardon my French, but you said, fuck up loud.
Oh, yes.
And you know what? And I've always remembered that. And that's always kind of gotten me over the hump of being
Uh-huh.
nervous about doing something right or doing something perfect.
Yeah, yeah. I was told that by Chuck DeMonico, you know, great jazz bassist, you know.
So not afraid to be a fool.
Not afraid to be a fool. That's the dojo version.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Rob, I have some questions
please.
on your chord voicings and Ain't Got Nothing But the Blues.
Uh-huh.
Now I'm a teacher, and I was teaching that to one of my students last week, and man, what a handful of chords.
Oh yeah, right on. Cool
You know,
song, you know.
Oh, great song, and you just had a fabulous arrangement on it. And like, did you play those bass notes on your guitar, or did you let the bass player take care of that? Because there's one where you have like a D triad over
Mhm.
B flat, but it's actually got a C in the bass with your thumb,
Uh-huh.
the way it's written.
You said a D over B.
Yeah, it
flat.
was a C13 sharp 11.
Okay, C13 sharp 11. Yeah, so you mean this one?
Yes.
Yeah.
that's a handful right there.
Yeah, that is really hard.
Yeah.
And let's see. Let's see. So, yeah, I kind of, I'm not sure, but it doesn't matter, you know, as long as the bass player is doing it, and whether or not I'm actually capable of doing that quickly. It's pretty hard. It is. Yeah, and the song ends that way, right?
That's right. It does. Yeah. Yeah.
Let's see. But the blue, I don't remember. I do remember, but I'm not finding the key. I think it's there. Yeah, that's it. So it's A flat minor 9 or 11. And then D flat. And I think I'm just playing this. You know. Yeah, I'm not playing the bass notes.
Yeah. Okay. I was wondering, you know, there's like one spot where you're coming up through the verse, and it's kind of like almost the turnaround. It's kind of a line cliche that you're doing against the B flat. You're kind of running the D over it and coming up to the E flat to the F. It's pretty cool.
You keep mentioning D over B flat.
Yeah, it was
because there's no D over B flat. That's
or D, or excuse me, I got it backwards.
D over C. D over C.
It's B flat over D. Yeah.
No.
I always get those mixed up.
B flat over D.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you've got that going on.
You mean
when you're coming up on the turnaround?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I ain't got nothing but the blue. That?
Yeah, yeah.
B flat over D. I play the fourths. And I find myself that I always wondered about the E flat voice thing. Boom, boom, boom. The E flat voice thing there. I could never find anything satisfactory in it, so I would just play the E flat.
Yeah.
Then
that's the one with the F you're talking about, right?
Well, that's the D flat, B flat over D.
Okay.
B flat 9.
Yep.
Third in the root. That one. I just play the major triad. The major 7th didn't sound right to me. So it sounds so corny, but that's all I could do.
Then go to diminish.
I ain't got nothing but the blue. B flat over F. Ain't got no rest in my slumber. Ain't got no bounce in my shoe. See, there's the fourths, B flat over D, E flat triad, E diminished, E flat over F. I ain't got nothing but the blue.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Man, I tell you, it's just a really good performance. You know, the band just really, really played well.
Yeah.
You know? Vinny is beautiful, you know, and Russell Ferrante, certainly no problem there. You know, it's very.
I did see you with Russell Ferrante, and I think you had Gary Willis playing bass with you at GIT.
Yeah.
Might have been Ralph Humphrey on drums.
Okay, I remember something like that.
Yeah, I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure it was that was the lineup, but that's the only time I ever saw Ferrante.
Russell, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he's an insane musician. He's just a brilliant piano player.
Yeah, yeah, it
Keyboard
was.
player, yeah. Mhm.
I loved always Revelation. That was a great album. That really was a
Yeah, talk to your
really
daughter.
great album.
It's strong.
Yeah,
It's very strong. It's a bad band right there, man.
yeah, yeah. There's
And
no
we-
weak moments on it. You know,
Yeah.
honestly.
When we were fresh off, a weekend of playing live, 2 sets a night,
Hmm.
and now we cut the record in 2 days,
Wow.
and went back, and the only additional songs are "I Got Over It" and "Getaway." Those two.
Mhm.
They're the only things that aren't from the original demo, which we cut in 2 days. And I did guitar overdubs. I only remember doing 1 day of guitar overdubs. It might have been 2, but I only remember doing 1.
Hmm.
And yeah, I mean, we were just on it,
Yeah, I remember you were on the Carson show right when that album came out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Scariest thing I've ever done in my life.
I'm sure.
Absolutely terrifying. Terrifying. I felt like I was standing in front of a tsunami. Millions of people watching you now,
Oh, I know. What an honor, though.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
He came up to me after the performance. We were for some reason, we were scheduled to do 2 numbers.
Oh, really?
I don't know how that happened. And this, if you recall, there was a little old lady. She was like 100 years old or something. And she came out to play, and he said, well, I understand you play the piano. So he was just going to have her do a little something, and then ta-da, thank you, good night, goodbye for her. And she wouldn't stop. And she ate up my second song.
Oh, man.
And, and I'm backstage just dying, not only because I'm scared to death, but this woman is taking up my time, It was
Hey, that could have been a Grammy Award,
So after our performance, and they cut to commercial break, Carson came over to me. He came walking over, and he stands in front of me, and he goes, sorry, man, can't stop an old lady from playing the piano.
So did you have any of the guys from the? I don't remember. I haven't seen it in a while, but did you have like Doc playing with you at all? And
Oh, no.
Yeah, because I played with Doc about a year after that happened.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Wow. He was very cool. Like
Yeah, he was. Nice guy.
When I showed up for rehearsal, I came walking in, and he's standing there, and a couple of other guys in the band or something, and they're just talking. And he looks at me, he goes, Robben Ford. He goes, I didn't think this show was hip enough to have Robben Ford on. He says this to me, and I was just stunned, because those guys are larger than life.
Oh, yeah.
You find yourself standing in front of Johnny Carson or Doc Severinsen. You've been watching them since you were a kid. And it's like I was awestruck, quite honestly. It was really overwhelming. That experience was really overwhelming. We got to talk to Thomas here for a sec. He's got a hand up with a question. Go ahead, Thomas.
I had a hand up. That chord changes you had on that blues song, is that available somewhere on tabs or so I could find more of the chords?
It's a good question.
I tabbed it up.
James has it.
You have it.
I do. I've used a program called Neck Diagrams, and I use it for my students. So I pretty much have like all the essential chords that you'd want written out in that, and you just kind of follow it as a blues, because I pretty much put it in order. I didn't write it on the staff because I just consider it a blues, so.
Maybe we could hang out after and they
Well,
could share it.
maybe you wouldn't mind passing it along, James.
When
Oh,
we
I'll certainly.
close on, when we shut out after and everyone's hanging on.
I don't know if people hang out
Yeah, for
afterwards.
another half hour.
Do people hang out afterwards today?
Yes, they will.
I'll
Alice
do that
says
for a
yes.
little bit.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, Andy, how you doing there, man?
How are you?
Okay, it's nighttime where you are, right?
No,
He's in the US.
am I unmuted? Okay, yeah.
You
No,
are.
it's 9:30 a.m. I'm in Oregon, Pacific time.
Right, okay. Because I think we spoke once before and it was nighttime. I said, boy, it looks like a sunny day there.
Yeah, no, well,
You were
it's-
on the
I'm in my-
Eastern time zone thing, right? Did you do the
No.
Australia thing?
I didn't know, but it was a morning, but I kind of have like a little setup in my garage, so there's no windows in here, but I got a bright light going on.
Okay, that's it.
Oh, yeah.
It's very nice. You have very
Oh,
nice.
thanks. Yeah. Yeah. It's all by accident. I just have a bunch of lights.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I have to comment on this. It looks like Freddie is in the hospital or something there.
He works.
Yes, I work at the hospital.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm an X-ray tech.
Okay. Well, we'll let you go about your business there, Freddie. I don't want to interrupt.
Yeah, I just want to say, I purchased your guitar, the Paul Reed Smith one.
What?
I just ordered the signature Robin Ford Paul Reed Smith guitar.
Ah, fantastic. I remember this now.
Yeah, I'm getting it too. I think Tuesday or Wednesday it's going to be delivered to my house.
Fantastic. Yeah, we had a little chat exchange there, right?
Yeah, we did. We
You
did.
see my answers? Good.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
I'm
I'm trying-
excited about it.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, Andy, do you have any musical questions on your mind, man?
Well, I've been messing around. I actually listened to it over and over again. Your Earthquake. And
Oh,
then
boy.
I just recently watched the lesson.
Uh-huh.
And I'm not rushing. I'm not in a hurry,
Good.
but I've been really enjoying. I've had to get used to my hands and even like the starting chord, the
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
this stretch has
Yes.
been taking me a while to I can do it slowly, but to hit that for me has been a little rough, but it's ear candy for me. I love it.
Yeah.
So
Trust me, it's not necessarily easy for me either. I mean, I can kind of do it if I'm just sitting down and relaxed, but if I'm up playing a gig, it's like, my hand, it feels like I need the guitar up here,
yes, exactly. Yeah.
but it's down here and often even I have it sitting a little bit lower, but that thing is a lot of pressure on that first finger, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, man, I felt a little thing there. Yeah. So it's a bit of a chop buster. I mean, I've been playing guitar a long time and it's still a thing for me, so I hear your pain.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm so glad to have found where the sounds come from. That's
Yeah.
part of the enjoyment, just to go, wow, that's where it's at.
Yeah.
That's the location. It's like
Of that sound. Yeah.
Yeah. And then
Chords.
Yeah. So like I said last time, I don't know. I just love that intermediate section, all of those lessons in there. I just kind
Right
of
on.
keep reading through them.
Beautiful.
Great.
And there was something else I found of yours on True Fire where you do this. It's just an exercise, but you start with, E and the open E,
Yeah.
major scale, and then you
Mhm.
start to go to F, and you go all the way up through back to E.
Oh,
And but you play every open string that you can.
yeah.
And that has been, whoa, I didn't realize how, I did not know anything up there. I always, was up in here,
Yeah.
like doing stuff like that. And
Yeah.
that's really kind of changed a little bit of my approach. So that was really cool too.
Right on. You know, these things, it's like, you know, you know, I had no teachers, so I did kind of have to make my own shit up, you know, and there, you know, nothing terribly sophisticated as far as I'm concerned in the practices that I've done. You know, I've never asked too much of myself, but that was an interesting thing, you know, because it just allowed for me to practice the back and forth picking technique. And really, that was the purpose of creating the exercise, was back and forth picking technique. And I wanted to make it more interesting. And, you know, like somehow, okay, well, let's benefit the left hand too. So, all right, a different fingering for every major scale all the way up to the 12th fret. And yes, these things, they just seep into your playing, right? It's not like you're playing that, but they seep into your playing and you find yourself using aspects of it, you know? I would find myself using open strings where I wouldn't necessarily naturally, you know? Well, I say naturally. Habit.
I have one question before I go. Is that okay?
Yeah.
In your dojo lessons, do you always add stuff to it? Like, you is it just one set of lessons, or do you keep introducing new stuff?
Well, I introduced new stuff for about 40 lessons. It's per, isn't it, babe? Like roughly 40 beginners, 40 intermediate.
They're different one. I think.
But
they're
roughly?
not- there's less than that.
Fewer than 40, maybe it's 20 and 20.
Yeah, something like 25 and 25. We have to look.
Okay. But yeah, that was the whole idea. Everything is added to, you know, it just keeps going there's a progression to those lessons. I really tried, you know, to make them.
Are you gonna eventually add new stuff to it, or just keep it like it is for now?
That I consider a finished course.
Okay.
Yeah. The beginning and the intermediate, I consider them finished courses. But, you know, we do, you know, like there's the rhythm course, you know, and then there's the riff section. So that's how I continue.
Okay, cool. Okay, Robben, have a nice day. Thank you for
All right,
everything.
man. Thanks, Kenny.
Talk to you soon. Okay.
Ready.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Louise, tell us.
Oh, I've just been thinking about the core of chords, intervals. Is there any particular interval that you absolutely really sums up things for you, or makes you feel, you know, like when you're playing the crunchy intervals there, it has a sort of jarring effect, physical kind of effect. Is there any particular interval that you absolutely love?
I don't think I could say that, you know, exactly. I mean, the third, because there's a lot of information in the third, you know,
right.
It tells you if it's major or minor.
Yeah.
And those are kind of the two worlds.
Yeah.
You know? Are you in a major key or a minor key, you know?
Yeah.
So that is really the essential, I would say. I don't know about favorite exactly, but kinda. Maybe I could call it my favorite, but more than that, it just seems like the most essential, the most important, you know, would be the third. You know, an interesting point about that, I have another thing that I was thinking of a little earlier that I want to come back to, but the it does define something, you know, like this was the reason that, like, not, you know, I wouldn't say rock, you know, rock and roll comes out of the blues, you know, of course. But where things changed was when you started hearing only fifths.
Power chords.
Yeah. And there's no other way to get that sound and that feeling. You have to remove the third, you have to remove the seventh. All you've got is tonic and fifth. And this goes back to the most basic it's the first harmony, you know, many of you probably know this, but Gregorian chants, you know, that's the first time that harmony was used in music, at least to recorded history. the tonic and the fifth. They hadn't gotten to the third yet, you know, so it's the most primal and Gothic, right? It's that Gothic thing, you know? It has it doesn't tell you that it's minor or major. It doesn't tell you either one.
But does it have, I mean, you were talking about fourths and, you know, that open
Yeah.
sound of fourths stacked up, which I don't know if you know Berg's Violin Concerto starts with just the unbelievable piece of music, my favorite piece of music.
It's Berg's Violin Concerto?
Yeah.
There's only one?
Yeah. Well, he wrote loads of different tunes, but that one starts with the open fourths. But why I'm asking that is about the intervals in general, is that I just wondered if there was kind of, if you're going through, you know, your different intervals, I mean, maybe not now, but, you know, originally, was there some that made you think, I'm feeling like this because there's a couple I can't bear, like major 6. They make me feel a bit weird. I don't know if it's just me being an oddball, but like major 7th is the one I just say, it's that nearly, that kind of nearly there, but not, almost like a, you know, a human condition vibe.
It's very sweet, yeah.
An octave is too good.
It's too good?
Yeah, it's too, I'm an octave.
The major 7th you're talking about.
Well, a major 7th, I think, sums up.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is that I'm just wondering if you have any kind of visceral feelings about any particular chord or. All
of them. They're all visceral. And I think that's one of the things I do kind of try to talk about, is like, you need to feel these things, you know, they do feel like something. Everything feels like something. It sounds like something, but more importantly, it feels like something. And that's why I always say when I'm writing, you know, I feel my way through a song, you know. I try all kinds of chords, you know, and I'll find a chord that I just didn't even expect to be the one that worked, but it did, because it has the right feeling, you know. And so always going for a feeling. Yeah, from, you know, it feels like something. So how do you keep a thread? Like you want this feeling. So how do you keep that feeling and still have movement? And you only do, you know, you find that by trial and error, you know. It's just trial and error. Oh, that feels right. That doesn't feel right. Nope, that doesn't feel right. That feels right, you know. So I'll try tons of, you know, different chords before I decide. You know, nothing comes from heaven, you know. I mean, occasionally some things just, of course, you know, you sit down, you start playing something you never played before, you know, that happens. But in writing, you know, it's, you know, nobody whispers in your ear, you know, it's G flat 7, you know. No, yeah. you play all these chords and go, oh, there it is, you know.
Yeah.
Because of the feeling that you have to find the feeling that you're looking for. So it's just like colors, you know. It's like, how do I that's not the right shade of red. If I can put a little white in it, you know, it's like that, you know. You have to do that. You have to experiment and try different things. I want to address something because it came up earlier. Yes. Yeah, Andy, we were talking about, we were talking about that exercise, right? Of play the scale a different way every time. Yeah. But all back and forth picking technique. So I've been working on actually trying to, I'm working on my picking technique again. I haven't done this in years, you know, not really. But at this point in my life, you know, I don't think we're there yet.
I'm good.
Or not. Can't see my hand.
Yeah, you can.
No, you can't. You can see my right hand, but you can't see my left hand. That's the important.
Okay.
There you go. That's better. Okay, so I'm working with, you know, using back and forth picking technique and making it better, refining it for me, because I'm back and forth, but I'll be playing, if I've played an upstroke up, now my next stroke is, like on the A string. Now my next downstroke is on the D string. So that's a real leap. It's not, you're not really set up for that. Yeah, you've gone back, but you've gone back, so I've come this way. So it's more practical to hit the E string, the low E. And because I went like this, now I'm prepared for an upstroke almost anywhere. So like, I'm way open, I went this way and now I'm ready for this. When I go like this, I'm ready for that, But to go B, do, I'm not ready for that. Does that make sense? So I'm practicing some things, and again, this is in the spirit of it's just an exercise, So if you looked at it as like, lifting weights, you're not in a fight, but it's going to do you good to have lifted some weights. If you wind up getting in a fight, you're stronger, right? So you just have some habitual practice that you've done that, I think works both physically and mentally. So I'm doing, and this is also in the spirit of like creating a lick, like this is how I might create a lick. So for instance, I use a pattern, so I'm just going to play this for you. So I'm going to play E on the A string, and it's a downstroke. So now I'm ready for that D, I'm ready to play that D string because it was a downstroke first, upstroke. And what I'm doing is keeping any repetitive thing like that. Let's see. All back and forth. Here we go. That's what I want to do. So I'm playing downstroke E, upstroke F sharp, downstroke G, and then B on the G string. Okay, so that I just played basically an E minor triad. I keep things simple, folks. Back and forth picking technique, down on the A, up on the D, down on the D, up on the G. So I'm just playing a G triad. And I'm down, up, down, up. And now because I've come up, I'm down is my next stroke. So I'm going to play a little pattern here for you. Now I'm just going to harmonize that. So I'm just going to play the same notes, up, as if I was just playing the major scale, right? That's harmonizing something. I'm just playing the triads. So that is an exercise. I probably will play that somewhere, sometime, but that's an exercise. I'm just practicing back and forth picking technique, but I'm doing it in the correct way. I'm not going down and then up on a lower note. So again, this is just a practice. I'm just practicing. All right, what's that next? What notes are possible for me to play without doing some radical movement, So again, because I'm this way, I'm not going to go to B there, but I could go to E here because I'm da, but da, that's awkward, and I do it all the time. You know, I just kind of was just kept doing back and forth, but I didn't think about those little leaps that you have to make. You know. And again, it's just an exercise, right? So if you want to use that as an exercise, I'm just playing E minor. If I do it here, I would start on an upstroke. And then I still get into trouble, so I'd have to play the B here. I'm okay if I do this back and forth on one string. Now, if I finish up, I want to play something down. Right? So if I go this way, I want that to be easy. And I found that if I start on an upstroke for something like this, there's trouble. So do you get the concept? I'm just like, if I'm going to go back or down, I don't want to be going backwards, you know? So if I just played a downstroke on the D, I'm ready for an upstroke on the G. I'm not ready for an upstroke on the A string, right? Boom, do. So this is just a practice that I've just started doing just recently. I'm practicing this. And it's just an exercise, you know, and it could turn into something. But, you know, like what'll start happening is I'll start thinking about it while I'm playing. You know, I'll go, I just played a downstroke on the B. I'm ready for an upstroke on the E, but I'm not ready for an upstroke on the G. And you start playing different things. This is, I found this. I've been sitting around here doing this for a couple of days now. Kelly's so kind. I think she actually likes it. She has to listen to me. But all good in the hood. So anyway, for what it's worth, I just wanted to share that with you because it's what's going on, you know, with me. And it's in the spirit of creating my own exercise, you know. And those exercises can become music, you know. I did something else today. Once again, thinking about the picking, you know. Like that. It's just, I'm just playing G. And then all backstrokes. Even hipper if I do it backstroke on the first one, because that's a pull off. And I'm going this way, you know. Musical. That's how you make it music. You change it, right? And that's a way for me to practice backstrokes. And all I'm doing is playing the arpeggiated G. And instead of just, what?
How are you applying your thumb to mute it? Are you applying your thumb as you backstroke?
My right one?
Yeah, with your picking
No,
hand.
it's all in the left hand. Well, when I start it, my right thumb is on the low strings. It's just laying there. It just happens right away. So yeah, that's a good point. You know, like everything's, I do this really instinctively now, you know, and my thumb, look at my left thumb. It's there. Everything, I'm keeping the strings from ringing just right now, you know? And then you accentuate them. You know, just variations on a theme, right? Take these little things that you can practice and then just, you know, play with them, fool around with them. And that keeps it interesting for you, keeps your musical mind stimulated, you know? You're practicing something very deliberate and physical, but you're also exercising your sense of music. It always has to be music. You should always think of it as music. Whatever you're doing, think of it as music. Right now, it's music, no matter what you're doing, you know? I've said this before. It's a great quote, I thought. Stephen Hawking, you know, the great crippled scientist person, you know? I caught the tail end of something on, you know, educational television. I was so bummed that I didn't see the whole thing, but of course he's out there in space, you know, and the universe is opening up before us. And he said, think like a genius, you know, just think like a genius. He goes, that's how geniuses become geniuses. They think like geniuses. They rely on themselves, you know, to understand it. If somebody tells it to you, great, you know, you've gotten some information, but that inquisitive thing is always going on, you know? What if, you know, that kind of thinking. That's how I took it. Think like a genius. And so I thought, think like a musician, you know? And that's just thinking like a musician, you know, like, how do I make this music, you know? And you make it music by injecting rhythm into it and finding melodies that you like, and then finding ways to string those melodies together, you know? It's just think like a musician, you know? Just be one. It's not that hard.
You know, Robin,
Yeah, go ahead.
I think the last technique you were talking about also applies on the main riff in Ever Ready Sunday. I just got the Common Ground album. And there is a very interesting riff on that. Very beautiful, I think, playing with Bill Evans. And I'm trying to transcribe it, but that technique should be the same, I think, because it's quite, you know, using two strings at the same time, or up and down with your pick.
Yeah, I can't think of how that melody goes. Is it a melody?
Yes, that's a melody. It's something like ba 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 da ba da ba ba. I tried to transcribe that. When that's ready, when it's ready, I'll try to play it for you. By the way, yeah, it's the main brief.
Okay, I should check it out because I can't remember it.
Well, beautiful, really, really beautiful.
That's Bill. All right, guys, we have one more minute. Anything?
Roberta, she had asked a question.
Oh, Roberta?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hi. Hi. Yeah, I've been working on Vamp 46, and I'm a little bit slower, but I love it. I love the D5. I don't usually play the D5, but your little solo at the end. Is there a trick to see? I go F to G. You have this you do a pull off and it goes up. And
yeah, I don't know it by heart. Riff 45. Did we talk about it last time?
I don't think so, because usually when I do, like, I can do a a bend with my index finger, but to do a pull off in a bend, I'm just like, is it meant to be softer that way? It just doesn't have the, I don't know if
Gotcha.
I'm not holding the guitar right. It's tricky.
I wish I knew what it was.
It's from Peace on My Mind.
Oh. Bing, boom, boom, boom. Peace on My Mind is in D. Right. And it goes to F. So are you talking about a solo?
Yeah, towards the end, you have these, I don't know if I want to play it. I'll play the notes.
Oh. I know. Yeah. I mean, off the top of my head, I'm not sure, but I know what you're talking about. The whole notion is how to play melodies, right? It's about playing melodies over these chord changes, right?
Yeah, and they're not, I mean, and the pull off with the bend, your bends are, I'm not used to that kind of a bend, but yeah, the melodies, they're beautiful. But yeah, like I almost, I'm learning so much from you.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I can't exactly address it, right? What you're referring to there, like, but you're talking about finger technique, right? Fingering technique.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
I would have to really look at it.
Okay.
I think lesson 45, right?
It's Vamp 46.
Vamp 46.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Gotcha. I'll see if I can check that out.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Alberto, you have something?
Oh yeah, it's just a quick thing. It's not really a question. When you just now said what if, it's like exactly the way I'm practicing. I mean, I've been practicing so far. So whenever I learn something new, I always ask myself, what if I tried this on, I don't know, another chord, another bar. If we're talking over a blues about a blues, for example. So, yeah, I just wanted to say this. So it was just a very quick thing.
Right on. Yeah. It's
I think
the
it's
concepts.
I think it's just the way to learn things. Trying to turn them into your own things.
Yeah.
Eventually go from there, develop, and create something new.
I think even like most of the great guitarists who came out of school, they dropped out. Nobody finished their course and got their PhD, most of those guys. I don't think so. I'm speaking out of school by saying such a thing. I need to find out about this, but it's true in a lot of places, because you're kind of locked up, right? It's like, okay, you're doing these things and you keep, here's more things to do and more things to do and more things to do, and you're never doing anything yourself, like that. So you need to be able to, you need to give yourself a break and just have some fun with it. Kick the ball around the field kind of thing. Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. All right, guys.
So
Right.
we're gonna let everyone hang out for another 30 minutes. You guys can all hang out. We're just gonna sign off and make some dinner over here.
All right.
And we'll let you guys just continue to chat and get to know each other and email things back and forth or whatever you'd like to do. This is the dojo community, so it's wonderful and it makes us really happy that you would learn.
I'll see if I can do the file share somehow.
You see
Yeah, I would love the tabs you mentioned.
Right
Yeah,
on.
yeah. I've got I've got that, and I've got some scales I think that Robben probably used on it, like super Locrian stuff, kind of some weird stuff.
Oh, I don't speak Latin. All right,
I don't know.
everybody.
It just came up automatically.
Thanks, Robin.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kel.
Thanks.
there.
Bye.
Bye-bye.